It has nothing to do with how we're raised. It has nothing to do with systematic racism. It has nothing to do with all these statistics that y'all are pulling out and coming up with. All of those are excuses. Black women are the reason why black men are not going to college.
Let me be clear here, and let me emphasize this here. Black men are not going to college because they are afraid. There is a whole conversation happening right now on TikTok about black men not going to college. And honestly, the conversation has become very loud, very emotional. We have missed the plot, and it also lacks critical context. So I do what I always do, and I went straight to the source. I read the New York Times article published on March 30th, 2025, and I pulled up a research by the Pew Research Center published on November 18th, 2024. I will tag both articles below for you to go take a look at it. Both articles have a lot to say, and it may actually surprise you what's in there. Before I go any further, I want to give you some context and also why this matters to me, or why I have something to say. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I have a master's degree in mental health counseling, and I am currently completing a Ph.D. in Counselor Education and Supervision. I went to school and completed these degrees as an adult learner, as they would say. I work full-time while completing these degrees. I am an immigrant. I came to the United States as an adult, and I had to figure out the educational system and navigate it as a first-gen college student. So when I speak on this, it is not just theory. I have lived it. On TikTok, I see a lot of takes from black men that lacks self-awareness and self-reflection. The common thread that I see in most of the takes is blame, blame, blame. Black men are either blaming their mothers or blaming the black women in their lives. They are blaming the elders around them or the communities that they grew up in.
How do you go to college without parental support? Better yet, how do you go to college when you have a parent who is literally making it harder for you and your other parent is across the globe? How do you go to school when you're trying to put in documents that require your social security number and your birth certificate, and the parent that you're supposed to love and trust and, love you unconditionally is not even willing to let you see these things? And then when the schools call, this parent acts like an angel and she tells the people that you're running away and that you don't want to come home. How do you go to college out of that situation? How do you even get a job out of that situation?
Black men ain't going to college because of this. Black men ain't going to college because of that. Black men ain't going to college because motherfuckers keep telling them that they don't need that shit to be successful. Black men ain't going to college because they ain't never seen another black man make it out of their own hood just from college. Black men ain't going to college because they are oftentimes held at a lower standard than a black woman. Black men not going to college because society oftentimes allow them to give bare minimum.
Black women are the reason why black men are not going to college. And I'm going to tell you why. It has nothing to do with how we're raised. It has nothing to do with systematic racism. It has nothing to do with all these statistics that y'all are pulling out and coming up with. All of those are excuses. If we really wanted to go to college, we would just go to college. It's not that difficult. The reason why black men do not care about going to college is because black women will still accept us even when we don't. Black women need to understand the power that they have. A black man's biggest motivation is not money, it's not power, it's not success, it is women.
According to the Pew Research article, the number one reason black men cite for not going to college is because they don't want to.
What?
That was their reason. The number one reason that black women cite for not going to college is economic reasons. So you see the difference? For black men, their number one reason was because they don't want to go. And for black women, their number one reason was economic reasons. However, Black women are outpacing Black men when it comes to enrollment in colleges, especially historically Black colleges and universities. Now let's talk about the New York Times article. It outlines some reasons why Black men are not going to college, or why there is a low enrollment for Black men in colleges. And guess what? The reason is fear. Fear of failing, or fear of letting their families down. As a trauma therapist and a trauma researcher, I know a lot about fear. I know a lot about what is behind fear, the vulnerability that it takes to acknowledge that you are afraid. Bell Hooks once said, patriarchy has no gender. And she also says that patriarchy harms everyone. Under the institution and the norms of patriarchy, nobody wins. Patriarchy gives men the illusion of dominance. It gives men the illusion of power at their own expense. This college enrollment issue is not just Black men issue. It is an issue with men across all demographics and across all cultural backgrounds. Boys are often infantilized and girls are often adultified. This infantilization of boys leaves them unequipped to deal with the emotional day-to-day of being an adult or even navigating college. College is a risk. I have been there and I am still in that risk. It requires determination. It requires vulnerability. It requires tenacity. It requires commitment. It requires emotional intelligence to be able to go on that journey. For first generation students, it means you are going on that journey alone. And it requires you to be vulnerable, to recognize your own limitations and your own weakness. But here is the thing. Black men are socialized to suppress their emotions. They are socialized to not confront their emotions. They are told from a very young age to push their emotions down and to suppress it. Now, don't get me wrong. There are unaddressed systemic issues, the biases in the educational system when it comes to Black boys, the school to prison pipeline, the unfunded or under-resourced schools. These are systemic issues that need policy changes. These are not issues caused by Black women. On the contrary, Black women, we have to go through the same issues when we enter into the educational system. We have to figure it out all on our own. We have to build the resources and the skills needed to navigate these systems that were not made for us. Let me be clear here and let me emphasize this here. Black men are not going to college because they are afraid. Fear is a very vulnerable emotion that if you don't confront it, you will run away from it. However, when you run away from it, you cannot hide from fear. To deal with fear, Black men have to acknowledge that they are afraid. Black men have to acknowledge that they are afraid to fail. They are afraid to go through a system that wasn't meant for them. Completing a Ph.D., I have to confront my fear. Every day, I have to think about it. What if it doesn't work out the way I want it to? What if the future isn't how I picture it? What if I fail myself? What if I fail my family? What if I even fail my profession? That is the fear. But in a society that teaches Black men that vulnerability is a sign of weakness, that is hard to ask. To truly address this crisis of Black men not going to college, Black men need to do one of the hardest things in their life. They need to betray the very system that gives them an illusion of power. And this is to Black men. Maybe, just maybe, I don't have all the answers, but I want you to consider this. Maybe if you betray patriarchy, if you let go and disown and denounce patriarchy and embark on a journey of your own identity, not the one ascribed by society, not the one ascribed by anyone, but the one that is ascribed by you, the one that requires you to be emotionally vulnerable, to be emotionally healthy, to be mentally healthy. Maybe on the other side of it, we will see more well, more educated, more curious Black men. Because don't get me wrong, Black men, you are all worthy of healing. You are worthy of pursuing a life that you want. Do not let fear get in your way. Thank you for watching. Now, drop down in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on this issue since we are all having conversations on it. Follow me for more on this conversation on Instagram, on TikTok, and subscribe if you haven't yet. I will see you in my next video. Take care of yourself. And if you can, please take care of somebody too. Bye.